Hey everybody, how are you? I'm doing great, and I wanted to do a video on a few things. I wanted to explain to you my theory on how life began on Earth, and also how life can be on other planets. Because my theory is life revolves around its environment. Life evolves based on its environment. Does not does not mean that life is not possible on another planet. For instance, how life began here. At first, two planets collided, Earth and what scientists call Gaia. The leftovers from that planet created our moon, and the impact generated our inner core to spin and create the ozone layer. That's technically been proven. However, does not mean that, for instance, that all elements were present or vice versa. I feel oxygen and hydrogen were present in the atmosphere and were left over from the impact. Now, the sun must have been forming or very early in its infancy at the time, caused massive solar flares that struck the ozone layer, and by electrocution must have created particles that created the first animals. Now, another part of my theory is ghosts are made of methane and are building blocks of our life on our planet. So, uh, the solar flare must have trapped these creatures or plant life and made them carbon. And they evolved from there. They grew and changed, and multiple species evolved and so forth. So it would prove the theory of evolution, but it would also prove that ghosts are made of methane, and we are made from basically hydrogen, helium, oxygen, and methane to create carbon. Now, it does not mean that there's not life on other planets. Uh, Different planets could have different elements and still have life. For instance, you could have a life form on a planet that's created based on sulfur, cyanide, hydrogen, and helium, or or oxygen. Sorry, as just an example, you could have life on different planets that are not same as ours, not carbon based. We have never seen a creature that's not carbon based, right? We're not used to it, but it's possible. For instance, Neptune could have life. We don't know. Different elements could still create life, and I suggest we be mindful that there could be a lot of alien life out there. There could be a lot of different planets out there with life, or who knows. My theory is we have an afterlife because we are composed mostly of methane. So ghosts were there before life happened on Earth. In my theory, and we simply evolved from there. But to be discussed, it's my theory. My theory is we are mostly made of methane, and we were trapped by solar flares and and turned into carbon forms at the start. The first few creatures and plants, uh, and must have had a lot of downpours, a lot of storms at the time. Uh, it must have rained for centuries to create our oceans. Uh, and it's how I invented LightScribe. You know, by fusing ions, I am able to regenerate cells, right? Well, I just replicated how life began on Earth. Just fuse the ions. So, food for thought. Think what you want. It's my theory. Does not mean that there's not life anywhere else. You know, a planet could look dead and still have life, but we could not live there, and vice versa, because it's not same elements composing the environment or its sun. So different gases and fission could make different life forms. you know. Uh, but something does unite every creature in this planet, and it's methane because it's our afterlife. It's what our ghosts are made of. You know, laugh it as much as you want. You fart ghosts when you eat. You know, uh, it is what it is. You know, that's how I invented Lightscribe. It's how my invention works. We spirits are made of mostly methane gas, and it's a sad, but at the same time, you should be proud. You should be proud that we have an afterlife, that we stay alive in gas form because the gas itself creates fission, and the fission creates electric current, and the electric current allows us to retain our sentience, keep our memories and stuff. We're simply turned into carbon. Also, I think it may be possible to clone out of fossils. If we can find the subatomic footprint, we might be able to replicate DNA. But in theory, it's all based on methane. So I would analyze the methane gas, see if there's any correlation between DNA and the elements that created it. Food for thought.